Good evening, everyone. I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Chad Raithlisberger with this digital live weather update. We have a line of severe thunderstorms now making their way into the northwestern portions of our viewing area, some of which have been awfully strong and widespread severe thunderstorm warnings currently in effect for areas just to the north and west of Green Bay and the Valley. Let's get right to the radar right now and start off with a large view of what we have going on across central and north central Wisconsin. We have a line of severe thunderstorm warnings basically from Oneida and Forest counties, and then further to the south, including areas around Rhinelander, just now to the north and west of Anago, Stevens Point, Wausau, all under severe thunderstorm warnings. And these severe thunderstorms were first developing across central Minnesota and did produce a few tornadoes earlier this afternoon. Now notice how they are developing more into a line, and this will eventually transition into a damaging wind event over the next several hours. So again, these are the current warnings, none of which are for areas along the lakeshore, Green Bay, the Fox Valley. You are currently not under any severe thunderstorm warnings. It is these areas highlighted in orange, again, just to the north and west of our area, that currently have those severe thunderstorm warnings. All right, let's get to the radar here and show you what we have going on. First of all, we have a flash flood warning that has just been issued for Oneida County. That is outside our viewing area, but this will give you an idea that not only will this be a potential for a damaging wind event, but also some torrential rainfall possible with these showers and storms moving through north central and central Wisconsin right now. These are just about to push into the northwestern portions of Lake County, so if anybody up near the Elko area, down Highway 45, eventually towards Anago, these storms are not too far away, and these are moving very quickly to the south and east at 65 miles an hour. So these are really starting to pick up some speed, and that is an indication that we're starting to get more of this storm complex to transition into a damaging wind event. When we get these storms going 50, 60, 65 miles an hour, we're getting those winds being pushed out ahead of those storms, and that's what eventually will cause this potential for some damaging wind gusts here later on today. A good portion of the WFRV viewing area is under a severe thunderstorm watch. These are all these counties highlighted in pink, and this is what they call a PDS, a severe thunderstorm watch, or a particularly dangerous situation. We do not see these all that often across northeastern Wisconsin, and at least for severe thunderstorm watches, we rarely have PDS severe thunderstorm watches anywhere in the nation. But the reasoning they put that tag on this severe thunderstorm watch is the potential for a widespread damaging wind threat, and at its peak, we could potentially have wind gusts that top 100 miles an hour. And so this is a situation where we can't take this lightly. We have several severe thunderstorm watches throughout the summer. We get used to them at times, especially this time of the year. But when they add on this PDS, or particularly dangerous situation tag, that's something you really want to take seriously. And we've already had multiple damage reports across portions of western Wisconsin and Minnesota. A widespread tree and power line damage. We've had car damage with trees falling on cars as well, and that is when they were just starting to develop. So now that we are really getting this line to come together and really start to pick up speed, this threat will really start to increase here over the next several hours. And this severe thunderstorm watch for northeastern Wisconsin runs until 1 o'clock Saturday morning. This will likely be out of the area before then, but before that, it was when we're really expecting these showers and storms to be moving through. I expect many of them to start pushing into Green Bay and the Fox Valley probably just after 9 or 9:30, and then at the rate they're going right now, this will probably start to exit the area just after 10:30 or 11 o'clock if they keep up their current speed. So that's the current situation right now. We'll head back over to the radar and show you that. It's areas right now north and west of Green Bay and the Valley that's starting to get the brunt of some of these showers and storms. And if I switch over to what we call the velocity data, this is the Doppler portion of the radar. So we're looking at the winds inside of these storms. And let me zoom in here and show you what we have. These are colors that we typically don't see. We don't show this a whole lot, but this can show us the winds inside these showers and storms. So the red shading or colors that you see up towards Elko, around Crandon, red indicates winds moving away from the radar. The greens and now blues indicating the stronger winds are winds moving towards the radar beams. So we're looking at the radar here in Green Bay near the airport. And so where you see these blues and greens, these are winds moving towards the radar. And let me just sample here. So we're getting winds at around 84 miles an hour. Now, we have to keep in mind that this is not at the ground. We are probably close to 80 to 90 miles away from the radar beam, and the radar does not look right at the ground. It goes at an angle, and you also have to take into account the curvature of the Earth. So we're probably looking at a few thousand feet above the ground. But this gives you an idea that we can get some extremely strong winds just a few thousand feet above the ground, and at times the storm, we get those straight line damaging wind events and reports. So 84 miles an hour right now for areas just north and west of Anago. But again, this is not at the ground. This is a few thousand feet above. But as we start getting these showers and storms closer to the radar site here in Green Bay, we'll be able to better sample what those winds could potentially be at the ground. But this is certainly a concerning trend that has been ongoing since these storms first developed across central Minnesota. Now, as they make the way more into a line, starting to see more of this severe wind event. Also, what we have going on, so we have this leading edge of showers and storms, again, right about where I'm putting this line, and we're getting these winds to start to go from the back of the storms and now push out as they continue to move south and eastward. So if we go back to the traditional radar or reflectivity view, this is the precipitation that is falling. Here's what we're seeing. We're starting to notice this portion of the storm to start to bow out now across northwestern portions of Lane Lake County. Just about to push into the Elko area, Peck as well. Down Highway 45, we have Summit Lake up that direction as well. So this is something for those of you across Lane Lake County that you're going to start noticing. And again, when we start to get this bow-like structure like we often talk about, that is those very damaging winds starting to push these storms out even faster, and that's when we get that structure that we're looking at now across central portions of Lane Lake County right now. Let me zoom out here and just take a larger view. Dave, have we have anything coming in through the chat right now? Where was that? In Lincoln County? Town of Gleason, okay. Town of Gleason, that's in Lincoln County, just to the west of Lane Lake County. Let me, I can actually zoom in here and show you where that is. Gleason, so here we are in Lincoln County. This is technically not in the WFRV viewing area, and Gleason is an awfully small little town, so we might have a tough time finding it here on the map, but there we go. We have trees down being reported in Gleason. It was there for just a moment, but now it isn't. It's right in this area. But as these storms were moving through, probably right about that point, we were getting some damaging winds moving through, and now we're looking at trees being reported down across eastern portions of Lincoln County. And if I stop back, okay, this is Milltown, Wisconsin, further to the west, northwestern portion of Wisconsin. Here is just a picture of some of that damage, trees down. Again, as these storms were just starting to get going into this line segment that we have happening right now, and these storms, at least on a wind standpoint, are going to get much stronger than what they were across northwestern Wisconsin. Okay, this now is from Duluth, baseball-size hail, reported up that direction earlier this afternoon. And look at the damage it can do to your windshields. This isn't stuff that we that we take lightly here, folks. If we have these severe thunderstorms, and we're talking about golf ball to baseball as high as hail, you can't stay outside and be driving around because this is the damage that can happen. 2-inch size hail reported just to the south and east of Rhinelander. So let's go back to the radar here, and that is across now eastern portions of Oneida County. This is my old stomping grounds where I worked before I came back here to Green Bay, so I know this area very well. Highway 8 from Rhinelander to Monaco, where we see these purples and pinks indicating the potential for not only very heavy rain, but as we just got a report, 2-inch size hail, and that's at least golf ball. Is that correct? At least golf ball size hail right around Rhinelander. And let me switch over to the hail product here and see if we can look at it. And sure enough, a large hail core. Yeah, a large hail core between Rhinelander towards Pelican and Monaco. Northern Wisconsin, anywhere specifically, Josh, that we have those power outages? Just northern Wisconsin right now? Okay, so here's the Wisconsin WPS current outage map. We're looking at areas around Tomahawk, about 42 outages, people affected just over 450. Minocqua, 91. Gleason, that we were just talking about, over 550 people. And now we have a new warning coming in. Okay. Okay, we just got new warnings here, so let me, and the National Weather Service here in Green Bay that covers a good portion of our viewing area is expanding this warning very far because they know this is going to make its way through most of the area. So let me zoom out here and take a look at the current warnings that were just updated. So here we go. A good chunk now of the Northwoods in our viewing area now under a severe thunderstorm warning. Let me bring up the current information here. So it looks like these storms are even picking up more speed, now moving at 70 miles an hour. The main hazard, 80-mile-per-hour winds and ping-pong ball-size hail. And that has been radar indicated. And as we are looking at the damage reports coming in through social media, this certainly is not surprising. And again, this could only start to intensify a little bit more as these Boeing segments really start to mature and get a little bit stronger. We can see that easily by just how fast these storms are moving. So they were going at 60, 65 miles an hour, now moving at 70 miles an hour towards the south and east. And these are the latest areas, a good chunk of the Northwoods here in the WFRV viewing area, now under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that warning runs until, let me just, 9:15. Okay. So let's go back over to the radar, and we're currently in programming right now, but we might end up doing a quick update on the TV side. Let this go to commercial. It might be still for a few minutes, but once we go to commercial, we will get ready to do just a quick 1-minute update on the TV side. We'll keep it here on the digital side if you're watching online or any of our apps, but those who are not, we're going to do an update on the TV side here in just a few minutes. But before that, we'll continue to stay with you all here on the digital side. So again, the latest warning includes the Southern Forest County, much of Marinette, a good portion of Oconto, all Menominee County here in Wisconsin, the rest of eastern Lane Lake County, and it looks like the northern portions of Shawano County, now under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15. The main concern with these thunderstorms will be ping pong ball size hail and the potential for damaging wind gusts in excess of 80 miles an hour. Zooming back in now here, Lane Lake County, you are currently under the gun for the brunt of at least the strongest portion of the storm. And if I first zoom out here, what I want to show you is that we're getting this line segment here from northern Wisconsin back towards the south and west towards I-94, just to the south of Eau Claire. But the main concern is, again, this bowing structure, or where we get this little area to kind of move out ahead of the storm. These are the very strong wind gusts now pushing out of the storm. So this, what we typically show you on the radar, this is the precipitation falling. Now if we go back over to the Doppler portion, or the wind portion of the radar, this is what we look at. And again, if you were not with us, you're just joining us, we showed this earlier. We're talking about the reds that you see on this velocity. Those are winds moving away from the radar site. So we are north and west of Green Bay. This is from the Green Bay radar. A solid 70 to 80 miles away from Green Bay. And so we had to keep in mind that the winds and the rain being sampled by the radar, this is several thousand feet above the ground. But what we're looking at here are the winds, and again, red indicating winds moving away from the radar, green indicating winds moving towards the radar. And when we get into these blue shading here, that's indicating some extremely strong winds. So right around the Neva area, let me zoom in here. Here we are in central Lane Lake County. We're looking at Anago right here, Neva, just to the north of Anago. We are sampling winds, again, a few thousand feet off the ground, but of, again, still 84 miles an hour. And you notice some of these purples and now pinks starting to show up. That's the radar getting a little confused, essentially, with some of these winds at this distance away being sampled here by the radar, which again is at least about 80 miles away from here in Green Bay, is where these storms are currently across central portions of Lane Lake County. So again, we're not looking at any tornadoes at the moment. No tornado warnings. These are all severe thunderstorm warnings. But these are not ones to take lightly. These aren't the 60-mile-an-hour and quarter-size hail storms that we're looking at here this evening. This is certainly a situation that is much more serious, that has produced tornadoes further off to our west earlier today. We're getting widespread tree and power line damage. Again, we have nearly 2,000 people without power across portions of northern Wisconsin right now, where these storms are currently moving through. And we've also had confirmed reports of 2-inch size hail in the Rhinelander area. That can do some major damage. Okay. Okay, trees down in the city of Colby. Is that Langley, near Abbotsford? Okay. So that is across central Wisconsin, just to the west of Wausau here on Highway 29. The city of Colby reporting trees down, central Wisconsin. Again, not in our viewing area, but they are starting to, say that again, Josh? Rock, yes, absolutely. Those of you at Rock USA. Not in the threat at the moment. These are still well off to your west, but if you are at Rock USA potentially watching us, or if you know anybody at the concerts, give them a heads up that they should probably be getting out of there, I'd say by 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter, because again, these storms are moving awfully quickly at 70 miles an hour. So, okay. Okay, yep, let me, we're gonna go to the TV side here in just a moment, everybody, but I want to set up our graphics here just so we can have everything set as we go over and give updates to the TV side here for everybody watching, not online like we are right now, but we'll give those folks a quick update as well. So, okay. Okay, I will, I'm going to be on Chroma if that's okay. Okay. So just hang on. You'll probably see us go to black here in just a moment, folks, but we will, we'll be right back. Good evening, everyone. I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Chad Rathlisberger with a quick severe weather update. We have some very strong storms now moving into the northwestern portions of our viewing area. Here they are really starting to pick up in strength across portions of Lake County. We have several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect across portions of northern Wisconsin. The latest severe thunderstorm warning now does include much of Marinette, much of O'Connell, all of Menominee, all of Lake, and the northern portions of Shawano County. This runs until 9:15 this evening. The main concern right now across northeastern Wisconsin is across central and eventually eastern portions of Lake County. We have this complex of thunderstorms now moving through, and our concern is this bowing portion of this thunderstorm complex. We could have wind gusts in excess of 80 miles an hour pushing through Lake County right now, and this will likely hold together over the next several hours as it moves to the east and southeast at around 70 miles an hour. The entire area currently under a severe thunderstorm watch. This is a particularly dangerous situation, a severe thunderstorm watch, due to the potential for wind gusts over 80 to 100 miles an hour as these showers and storms continue to intensify as they make their way across northeastern Wisconsin. So again, latest warnings are for areas mainly north of Green Bay. That runs until 9:15 this evening. Areas near Anago and Lake. Eventually, northern portions of O'Connell County, you'll be up next for this line of damaging severe thunderstorms, which again could produce winds in excess of 80 miles an hour. We'll have more updates on our Facebook page and our website, wearegreenbay.com. We now return you back to regular programming. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We had to do a quick little update here on the TV side, as now things are really starting to pick up in intensity here just north and west of Green Bay, now pushing through the central and eventually eastern portions of Lake County. Dave, you just had another update.
Yeah, we're in Athens.
In Athens.
In Marathon County. They had power outages.
Okay. That is, again, Marathon County, just to the west of Shawano County. So that's technically in the Rhinelander-Wausau TV market. Near Wausau is Athens. Those aren't even the strongest storms, and they're getting power lines down and people losing their power. Here in northeastern Wisconsin, particularly Lake County, this is the area where these storms are the strongest right now. And it looks like we have a new warning. Pardon the ringer here going. That's our weather radio alerting us of a new severe thunderstorm warning. Let me switch over to the latest warnings. We can see that flashing here. That is now for southwestern Shawano County, the northwestern portions of Waupaca County, and also eastern Portage County, which again is technically not in our viewing area. Let me get the latest information here. That also, this newest warning runs until 9:15. At 8:23, so just about a minute ago, we're looking at severe thunderstorms from about Wausau to near Rib Mountain, and those were moving at a little bit slower, east at 45 miles an hour, but 70 mile an hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail possible with those storms across western portions of Waupaca County. Those will eventually be impacting you. So if we switch back over again to the radar, you see those orange polygons. Those are the severe thunderstorm warnings. So if you're inside one of these boxes, again, western Waupaca, much of Shawano, and areas basically north of Highway 29 up to about Highway 8 across far northern Wisconsin, all under a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. Both of these warnings run until 9:15 this evening. So we are watching this area, two areas that we're really paying attention. The first one where this new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued is here across central Wisconsin, areas around about Mosinee, back towards the south, eventually towards Stevens Point. That is not the strongest area of storms at the moment. This really has us concerned is this bowing feature here across eastern Lake County. Let me get my marker here. See how that's starting to bow out across eastern Lake County? Those are the very damaging straight line winds that we have been talking about and now experiencing across the northern portions of the state, now moving into the northern portions of our viewing area. These are the damaging straight line winds being pushed out and causing this line of thunderstorms to get this bow-like feature. And this is a classic look. We see this quite often with these damaging wind situations. And let me switch over to our Doppler or wind portion of the radar. Again, if you are just joining us and you have not seen this before, we're looking from the Green Bay radar station near Austin-Straubel Airport here in Green Bay. So this is, again, probably 70 to 80 miles away. And so we're sampling the winds several thousand feet in the air. At this distance, we're probably a good 3,000 to 5,000 feet above the ground.
We got a tornado warning.
Okay.
Outage, Shawano, and Wapaka.
Okay. So.
Thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado.
Okay, guys, we're going to have to go back to the TV side. We just have a tornado warning issued. And so if you can let Master Control be aware of that, we need to break in with this tornado warning. I will stay here at the desk because we'll be doing a lot of moving around. So I will stay here. Let me know when you guys are set to go to the TV side because we need to break in with this tornado warning. Yep. Good evening, everyone. I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Chad Raithlisberger. We apologize for interrupting your programming, but we have a brand new tornado warning that has just been issued for areas just to the west of Green Bay. This does include portions of Wapaka and Shawano County. We need to stay with this tornado warning. You can still watch your shows online, so if you want to continue to watch your programming right now, you can do that online, but we need to be cutting into our programming here at the moment to pass along this information that is currently ongoing. So again, we are breaking in due to a tornado warning that has just been issued by the National Weather Service. This includes two counties outside of our viewing area, that is Southern Marathon and Northern Portage County, but it now also does include our far western counties, including southwestern Shawano and northwestern portions of Wapaka County. Let me pull up the latest information here. This is likely a radar-indicated tornado, and this is something that will probably certainly be a concern, at least the potential for tornadoes, as this line of severe showers and thunderstorms continues to make its way through northeastern Wisconsin. We have plenty of warnings across the area right now, and a lot of damage being reported as well. So this is not a situation that we can take lightly. I know we have several severe thunderstorm warnings throughout the summer, but today's the day where we really need to take these seriously because we're looking at winds in excess of 80 miles an hour and a lot of damage being reported as well. So this is the latest from the National Weather Service. At 8:26, severe thunderstorms capable of producing a tornado located right around Mosinee. And that is radar indicated rotation. So this is the areas here in red. That is the current tornado warning. All these other areas that you see is shaded in orange. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings. Let me switch over to the radar right now, and we can show you this is the precipitation. And first of all, notice all the lightning strikes. Let me take that off because that is very overwhelming at the moment. So here's this latest tornado warning. Again, southwestern Shawano, northwestern Wapaka County is right along this line of severe thunderstorms that we could have these little spin-up tornadoes out ahead of this line of thunderstorms currently moving through the central portions of Wisconsin. It is right along this leading edge of these thunderstorms where we could have that tornado. So again, this is the product on the radar we typically show you on TV. Let me switch over to the Doppler portion of the radar. And what this is, these are the winds. So what we're looking at here, this red shading, let me get my pointer here, this red shading, those are indicating winds moving away from the radar. These are likely being sucked into the storms right now. The green indicating winds moving towards the radar. So we're sampling the storm from the Green Bay radar near Austin-Straubel Airport. So again, green indicating winds moving towards the radar site, red indicating winds moving away from the radar. And it is right where these two meet that we are getting that rotation that the National Weather Service now deemed to be enough for a tornado warning here. So it's that very small little area now in southern to eventually southeastern Marathon County where we have that potential for this tornado. Not confirmed at the moment, but this is a awfully strong signature, and this is still several thousand feet above the ground. Marathon County, we're probably a good 70 to 80 miles away from Green Bay, so the radar does not shoot right at the ground. It has a slight tilt to it, and we also have to take into account the curvature of the earth. So we're probably looking 3, maybe 4,000 feet above the ground where we are sampling these winds at the moment. But this is a awfully strong signature to be getting this far away for the potential for these spin-up tornadoes. So that is certainly concerning. This again is not at the moment in our viewing area, but the tornado warning for this storm does include portions of our viewing area. That is again southwestern Shawano County and northwestern Waupaca County. So that's the current situation for that. We also have, which we've been covering on the digital side here for the last half hour to 45 minutes, another area of concern across the northern portions of our viewing area. That is now pushing through eastern Lake County, now just starting to move into the northwestern portions of Menominee County, and now just about to move into northern and western Oconto County. This is also concerning, seeing this bowing structure right ahead of this thunderstorm complex. This is indicating the potential for some damaging straight line winds that could be in excess of 80 miles an hour. These storms are moving awfully quick as well. They were developing across northwestern Wisconsin earlier this afternoon, picked up speed 50 to 60 miles an hour, now moving at least across the northern portions of this thunderstorm complex at 70 miles an hour. And so these things are absolutely cruising right now, and that continues to give us concern that we're starting to see these storms pick up in intensity and even give us more reason to assume that we could have some widespread tree and power line damage, as well as potentially siding and roof damage with these areas of straight line winds. You see the radar rotating, just updating right now. Dave, we also have some updates.
Centers now indicating winds.
Okay.
Some of these storms north of
Sure. So National Weather Service indicating with the radar, sampling with the radar, that we could have winds in excess of 80 miles an hour. And that's exactly what we're showing you right here. We just showed you that with the potential tornado across central Wisconsin. Again, if you are seeing this for the first time, red indicating winds moving away from the radar, blue and these greens indicating winds moving towards the radar. And when we get into these blues, let me just sample this for you here real quickly. Let me see that update, okay? Just north of White Lake in northern Lake County, the radar is sampling winds again above the surface by a few thousand feet at 115 miles an hour. And so this is a situation we cannot take lightly. Again, those are likely not at the ground just yet, but we can get some of those strong winds a few thousand feet off the ground to eventually be pulled towards the ground, and that's where those straight line damaging winds, that's where that all happens. So 115 miles an hour winds being reported, sampled by the radar here in the northeastern portions of Lake County. A little bit closer, now right along the leading edge, now pushing into northern and western Menominee County. Those winds are being sampled that we are getting winds just shy of 60 miles an hour. So that's the current severe thunderstorm warning across northern portions of our viewing area. The main concern right now is the tornado warning. So let me go back and show you where that is right now. It's this area, this red polygon. This is the current tornado warning. That does include the southeastern Marathon, northern Portage, as well as northwestern Waupaca and southwestern Shawano County. That tornado warning runs until 9:15. Let me go back to the traditional radar view here. And again, we see the red polygon indicating that tornado warning. And if we just loop this quickly, we could potentially see where that tornado might be as the rain kind of gets wrapped up in this circulation here. And it's right in this area, it looks like, right in here. So again, southern Marathon County, just to the east of I-39. Again, just outside of our viewing area, but there's no reason to believe this will not hold together as it makes its way into our western counties. And that is why we are currently breaking into programming, because there's a very strong signature that we do have a tornado. It has not at the moment been confirmed on the ground as far as I'm aware. But this signature, again, several thousand feet off the ground, is awfully telling that we could have these spin-up tornadoes along this leading edge of this thunderstorm complex. So let's go back to the velocity, or the Doppler version portion of the radar. And what we are watching, again, is the reds. Those are winds away from the radar. Blues and greens, those are winds towards the radar. And where they meet and are awfully intense, right in this small little area, that is indicating the potential for that rotation and the potential for a tornado at the moment. Anything else coming through the chat here, Dave?
No, right now, not much other than the fact that they're looking at like 1.5 to 2 inches of rain per hour falling in some of these in Wood County.
Sure.
And then strong winds that capable.
Yeah. So this, what we've been kind of telling you, the latest information coming from the National Weather Service. Again, the potential for winds in excess of 80 miles an hour, especially across this northern edge of these thunderstorms, which at the moment do not have any tornado warnings, but they do have severe thunderstorm warnings on them. Now pushing into the western portions of Oconto County, now through the northern and central portions of Menominee County, as well as potentially the northern portions of Shawano County. This is where we have that damaging straight line wind potential here for those areas. However, the reason we are on TV is because the potential for a tornado and a tornado warning in effect for our western areas. The radar continuing to show a very strong signature of the potential for a tornado. Again, not confirmed at the moment, but when we have this signature of these very bright shades of red, indicating winds away, blues and greens, winds towards the radar here in Green Bay, this is where we are currently watching for the potential for these tornadoes here, right along this leading edge of this thunderstorm complex. Let me go back to the traditional radar or precipitation view that we are used to showing you most often. So a large view, just to reset everybody here, we have this line of very intense thunderstorms now basically from Highway 8 across northern Wisconsin, pushing through western Oconto, the central portions of Menominee, tailing back towards the west across northern Shawano County, producing some straight line damaging winds that could be potentially in excess of 80 miles an hour. And then we have what looks to be a second band or bowing segment here on the southern edge of these storms, now moving through central Wisconsin, that also could produce very damaging straight line winds and also potential for a tornado across central Wisconsin at the moment. Let me just loop this here because these storms are moving very quickly. The northern portions are moving at around 70 miles an hour. Yep, yeah, that's what we've been kind of showing here the last few minutes. So let me, so again, these are the latest complex moving through right now. The northern edge moving awfully quickly at 70 miles an hour, but at the moment our main concern is portions of southwestern Shawano and northwestern Wapaka County. You guys are under a tornado warning that runs until 9:15 this evening. So it is, if we go back and show you the winds inside the storm, and this is still holding itself together here. This area, let me highlight that, right in here where we have the reds and greens right up next to each other. We call that a couplet, but this is where we have the potential for some rotation within the storm And the potential, at least the potential, again, I haven't seen or heard anything confirmed by storm spotters at the moment, but could potentially be a heavily wooded area of southeastern Marathon County, so it might be tough for them to see. There could be potentially a brief tornado, if not one on the ground at the moment. And again, this is several miles away from Green Bay, probably a good 60 to 70 miles away, and so we're sampling these winds several thousand feet above the surface. But when we get these indicators here of these winds moving towards and away from the radar at this distance and at this height from the surface, that is certainly concerning. And the fact that it is still holding together for quite a distance. Here it was around 8:10. You didn't see much as it made its way through the central portions of Marathon County, but within the last, I'd say, 20 or 30 minutes, notice how we start getting that area across southern Marathon County. We start noticing that rotation on the radar, and we're still somewhat getting that signature. Now, what will be awfully interesting to see, which could potentially be good news for this area, is we could potentially see these winds that are very strong here in the blues and greens eventually get out ahead of this rotation a little bit and essentially cut it off and cut off that rotation. And that's something that does happen with these complexes of storms. As they start to bow out, we can get these areas of rotation to develop, but winds from the back of the storm eventually just catch up to that rotation and move out ahead of it and choke off that rotation. That does not mean that the severe weather threat and damaging wind threat is completely gone, but that might be a cycle that we're starting to notice now. Again, if we back this up just a few minutes, it looked like it was at its strongest about 10 minutes ago. They're just to the east of I-39 where that icon is. That was what we were awfully concerned about, but now as we move to the last few frames, we could potentially see that rotation not become nearly as defined as what it once was, as some of those winds are potentially moving out ahead of that rotation, choking it off ever so slightly. But this is still certainly an area of concern, and why the National Weather Service continues with this tornado warning for areas across central Wisconsin and now the western portions of our viewing area. The time right now is 8:43. This tornado warning runs until 9:15, and we're going to stay on air and continue to cover this until either the threat diminishes or they expire that warning, because we've had enough indication on the radar that we could potentially have a storm producing a tornado. And we're not only talking about potential for tornadoes with this storm, but also potential for some damaging wind gusts, potentially in excess of 80 miles an hour. We've had several reports of tree and power line damage across northern and western Wisconsin as these storms were moving through earlier this afternoon and evening. We have nearly 2,000 people without power right now across the northern portions of the state, and this will likely continue into northeastern Wisconsin as these thunderstorms quickly move off to the south and east at around 70 miles an hour. So just recapping, tornado warning for southwestern Shawano and northwestern Waupaca County. Let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit more and get a few more cities here to show up. Iola, you are not. This is being covered by the banner right now. Let me move that up. Iola, you are at the moment not under this tornado warning, but areas just to your north, you are. And so those locations need to be aware within the next, I'd say, 20 minutes or so for the potential of this storm, which has had a very good indication of potentially producing a tornado based on what we're seeing on radar. So areas of Highway 49 across northwestern Waupaca County, as well as areas such as Tigerton and Franzen, which is, again, just outside of our viewing area, but Germania, and just to the south right now of Whitcomb, Highway 153, currently under that tornado warning. The orange that you see, that is a severe thunderstorm warning, and now it looks like that is being updated here for the northern portions of our viewing area. Let me get the latest information on that, because that storm, while at the moment not producing a tornado warning at the moment, it could be producing some damaging winds, and it looks like they have just updated this now. This is a very dangerous storm. This is what the National Weather Service is saying for these storms across northern Wisconsin. Let me switch back to the radar so you can see what I'm looking at. They're saying this area, which I'm highlighting right now, from northern Oconto County through Mountain. You're getting hit right now, Mountain, in Lakewood. You're seeing these winds at the moment. And then this bow structure extends to the south and west, and then eventually west, moving through central and eastern Menominee County, as well as northern Shawano County. The radar in the National Weather Service now saying that these storms could produce winds in excess of 90 miles an hour. So these continue to get stronger as these storms move to the east very quickly. Let me get the latest motion on these, and it looks like they're continuing to move east at 70 miles an hour. Another very good indicator that we're getting these very strong winds. Notice how we're seeing a little dropout in the rainfall here behind this initial band. And very strong winds here along the leading edge of this thunderstorm complex. That is the winds several thousand feet above the surface being pushed down towards the surface, essentially cutting off some of that rain and eventually making it towards the surface and creating that bow-like structure, which we have right now, that is concerning for the Weather Service to potentially produce winds over 90 miles an hour. So again, while northern areas not under a tornado warning, this is just as severe and could be just as damaging for these areas as well. More of a straight line damaging wind event for those areas. But the reason we are breaking into programming and continuing to stay on right now is that we are have two counties in our viewing area, western areas, under a tornado warning. That is for southwestern Shawano and northwestern Wapaka County. That runs until 9:15 this evening. Green Bay, Lakeshore, Fox Cities, no warnings for your areas just yet, but this will likely, either a severe thunderstorm warning will likely be expanding eastward here fairly shortly as these storms are moving awfully quickly, at least for the northern portions of the storm complex, at around 70 miles an hour. Dave, any other reports coming in that you've seen?
Nothing right now.
Okay.
I noticed that rotation's kind of picked up just to the northeast of Shantytown.
Yep.
And it's kind of moving a little bit. Now it's kind of broken off a little bit, but it's sort of more southeast now, so it might be cutting right across the Shawano-Wapaka County line. Okay.
So as Dave was just saying, this area in the red, this red polygon, if you are in this area, especially for our viewing area, southwestern Shawano, northwestern Wapaka, this is a tornado warning for those areas until 9:15. We are looking at the potential for, and not only the potential, but we've seen on the radar some very good indications that we could have rotation. Now, we, again, have not gotten any reports at the moment from any storm spotters or anybody on the National Weather Service chat of a confirmed tornado, but with it now being 8:48, we have clouds overhead. I haven't been outside for the last 2 hours, but it's probably dark outside, so this would be very tough to see unless we're getting something like power flashes or frequent lightning to kind of illuminate this potential rotation. And with the amount of rain with these storms as well, this could very well be rain wrapped and so impossible to see. And so that's potentially why we have not had any visual confirmation of a tornado or at least a funnel cloud being passed along to us just yet. But what's great about radar is that we don't necessarily need to have people see it for us to have a pretty good indication that there is at least enough rotation within the storm to produce a tornado. And if we go back to the Doppler version of the radar, this is showing us the winds inside the storm. Red indicates winds away from the radar. Blue and green indicating strong winds towards the radar. And this area continues to show a very substantial signature that we could have rotation several thousand feet above the surface. But as this continues to get closer to the Green Bay radar site, our radar beam will then continue to lower and sample these storms and winds at a lower level. This will give us a better indicator of where those winds in terms of intensity it could be. So now you just saw the radar beam sweep around once again. We're getting updates around every minute or so. And we're still looking at. Once again, the reasoning for this tornado warning is because we're getting these winds that are towards and away from the radar here. Red again is away, green and blue is winds towards the radar. Not nearly as impressive as what it was before. And again, with these line segments, and we get these spin-up tornadoes, they can go in cycles. These aren't, at times, long-lived tornadoes like we see in the Central Plains sometimes. This type of situation, we could have these little spin-ups. Winds get out ahead of them, choke them off, but we get enough wind to push out ahead of these storms once again, and we get little spin-ups as well. And these are awfully difficult to keep track of at times, but thankfully, we're able to see this one fairly well. Going back just a few minutes here, this was just after 8:30, so about 50 minutes ago, that's when we really started to notice this signature here of very strong rotation just to the east of I-39. And that has, for the most part, held together, but like I mentioned earlier, we could be going through a situation where this is cycling, and we're getting these very strong winds in blue and green here, getting out ahead of the main circulation, potentially cutting off that rotation, or if it was on the ground, a tornado, because we're not getting that real tight signature like we were earlier, where the greens and reds were a little more intense and right next to each other. But the area that I just circled near the this Four Corners area of Marathon, Portage, Wapaka, and Shawano counties, this is the area that is of most concern at the moment for the potential of a tornado. Dave, you have more updates here.
The service is now saying trees and power lines are reported down in Anaco and across the entire county of Langlade County. So that happened about 15, 20 minutes ago as that was starting to push in towards Anaco. So there are reports, trees and power lines down in Anaco.
Okay. If anybody who is watching this, or if you know anybody in these areas that we are currently covering or talking about, if you have, once these storms move through, if you have any pictures or video of any damage coming through, please send those to us, because that helps get the message out to people who have not experienced these storms yet, such as Green Bay, the Valley, and the Lakeshore, who may be watching this and wondering why we're covering this and it's not impacting their area. If we can get some pictures and some visual proof that we have damage across the area, this would hopefully give them an opportunity to think about their severe weather precautions a little bit more compared to what they have at the moment. But we want to make sure, do not go out in the storms and get video and pictures of this. You have to keep yourself safe. Get indoors. If you are in a house, get to the lowest level in a basement if you have one. If you do not have a basement, get to the center of the home, away from windows. Try to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. That will give you the best chance at staying safe, not only for the potential for a tornado, but these damaging straight line winds that we are currently experiencing across the northern portions of the viewing area. So again, the center of a room, and get under a piece of sturdy furniture, such as a bed. Get some blankets to potentially cover you. And again, away from windows, because we could potentially have some windows break with some of this debris moving through as well. Dave.
Weather Service is now confirming that that was a tornado on the ground just to the southeast of Bevan, or 18 miles northeast of Stevens Point. And they've got it moving east at 50 miles per hour. So just about a minute ago, that tornado was reported on the ground. It looks like by weather observers in that area.
Okay, so we did have spotters confirm that we did have, and potentially might still have, a tornado on the ground right now across the southern portions of Marathon County. Now just starting to push into our western viewing area. So again, I'm just on the chat service here with the National Weather Service. So at 8:53, so 2 minutes ago, a confirmed tornado was located 8 miles southeast of Bevan, or 18 miles northeast of Stevens Point, moving east at 50 miles an hour. So this continues to be this area that we've been highlighting here. Now, it looks like the main concern from this storm, looking at the rotation here, would be, this is far northwestern Wapaka County. So we're looking at Highway 45 to the north from Clintonville. Eventually makes its way through western Shawano County. You guys are not under the threat for at least this tornado, but you could still have some damaging straight line winds. Is this area right near Norski, it just popped away there, just to the south of Germania. This is the area that the Weather Service just confirmed from storm spotters that a tornado was on the ground about 3 minutes ago. And so there's really no reason to believe that we couldn't still have a tornado potentially producing damage on the ground right now. And so we continue with this tornado warning until 9:15. Let me zoom out. They continue to chip this away as the storm makes its way to the south and east at around 50 miles an hour or so. Severe tornado warning. Southwestern Shawano and northwestern Wapaka, but at the moment, looking at the radar and the winds being sampled by the radar, looks like the main concern right now where we have this couplet or area of rotation would be just to now well, basically right over Norski, far northwestern Wapaka County. And let me see if I can throw on wind shear. And this product is sampling the potential for some rotation within the storm, but what gives us a better view is the actual Doppler portion of the radar, where we have the reds and greens right next to each other, have been fairly intense at times. They were a little bit stronger, but that was likely because we were sampling at a higher level above the ground, and so those winds are certainly stronger compared to what they likely are at the ground at the moment. And so that's why it looks like it may have weakened ever so slightly. But again, the Weather Service confirmed this was on the ground. Now we just got this latest sweep here from the radar. And again, we've probably said this now 3 times. This might be going through a bit of a cycle right now where the winds moving towards the radar, or the ones currently being sampled in green, getting out ahead of this rotation ever so slightly, potentially choking off that rotation, but does not mean that it still can't be there. But the couplet, or the greens and reds right next to each other, not nearly as intense at the moment as what they were with this latest radar sweep.
The National Weather Service is now issuing a new tornado warning for Wapaka, Shawano, and Outages counties until 9:30, based on the confirmed tornado sighting 9 miles south of Wittenberg and 22 miles to the northeast of Stevens Point. This is moving east at 50. So a new tornado warning now until 9:30 for Outages, Shawano, and Wapaka.
Okay, so again, new tornado warning. That is for southern Shawano, northern Wapaka, and northwestern Outages County. And that runs until, what was the time on that?
9:30.
Until 9:30, yeah. Okay. And so the Weather Service issuing this warning out ahead of where these storms are, because as we've been telling you the last 5 minutes, this tornado has been confirmed on the ground. That means we have a tornado that could potentially be doing some serious damage right now, just pushing into northwestern Wapaka County at the moment. But this whole complex in line of showers and storms will continue to quickly move to the east and southeast. This area of thunderstorms moving at 50 miles an hour. Areas to the north across the Northwoods, mainly a damaging wind threat, but those have been moving at 70 miles an hour, and you could have wind gusts in excess of 90 miles an hour. We don't want to forget about you across the north. We will get to you there, but the main concern, the reason why we continue to cut into programming, we're just a few seconds here before 9 o'clock, the reason why we are cutting into programming, and will continue to do so, is because we have a confirmed tornado on the ground as of just a few minutes ago for areas across the western portions of our viewing area. So areas right now, if you are in an area highlighted in red, that is where we have this current tornado warning. This does include the city of Clintonville. And as I continue to zoom in to get in a few other cities here, Navarino, you're just on the eastern portion of this warning, but Germania, you are under this tornado warning. It looks like the main threat for Germania, main threat of this tornado is just up to your south, but these storms are still awfully strong, and it's not time to go outside and look to see if there was any damage. Some other locations here, Bear Creek, you're under this tornado warning. Embarrass, Mattinson, Hunting, DuPont, Simcoe. If you live in any of these areas, you are currently under this tornado warning until 9:30. Tigerton, again, Germania, but the threat of the tornadic portion of this line complex is now off to your south and now eventually making its way to the east. So let's go back to the radar and show what we currently have going on. That's we'll first focus on this tornado warning here, and I'm going to go back to the wind portion of the radar. And again, this does not look nearly as impressive as what it has within the last half hour to 45 minutes as we've been covering this, but it's this area right in here, northwestern Wapaka County, where we have at least the potential that we could have a tornado on the ground. And there has been one confirmed by actual human storm spotters on the ground across northeastern Portage County, just outside our viewing area. But now this thunderstorm complex continues to make its way now into our western viewing area. And those locations, if you live in or near northwestern Wapaka County, especially areas where I have circled at the moment, that is the main concern for the potential of a tornado along the leading edge of this thunderstorm complex. So Helvetia, hopefully I'm saying that right. This circulation at the moment, the way it looks like right now, just off to your north and west, this is moving out to the south and east. So this will be awfully close to your location as it moves very quickly, 50 miles an hour, to the east and southeast as this whole complex of showers and storms move through. So that is the current tornado warning until 9:45. Southern Shawano, northern Wapaka, and northwestern now Outages County under this tornado warning. That runs until 9:30 this evening. All the oranges you see here, all the areas and counties covered in orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. Notice a good chunk of the Northwoods, basically from Highway 29 north of Green Bay, near just to the north of Abrams right now, the 41-141 split, and areas to the north towards about Highway 8, all under a severe thunderstorm warning. And I just want to get the latest information on that as well, because this is also a very dangerous situation. We had radar samples of winds that could be in excess of 90 miles an hour, and that continues to be the latest report from the National Weather Service. I'm just reading through here. Yes, these storms continue to move to the east across the Northwoods at 70 miles an hour. So these things are cruising. And due to that, we're looking at potential for 90 mile an hour damaging wind gusts, as well as some quarter-size hail. So we can have some widespread tree and power line damage that will likely do some damage to your shingles, that will likely do some damage to some siding as well if you get caught in some of those strongest winds. And also, if we have any debris being picked up from trees or things like that, we could potentially have some broken windows and maybe some car damage as well. Anything else from you here, Dave?
Yeah, they're reporting barn down over by Knowlton, which I believe that's still in northwest Wapaka County.
Okay.
Yeah, so that part of that storm that was moving east in northern Wapaka County right now. So that was based on 60 mile an hour winds.
Okay. So we're getting damage reports coming in right now, and that's why we are covering this. And we're likely about to get a whole lot more damage reports as these storms continue to move through. You see the red flash in here. That is a tornado warning, a new update coming from the National Weather Service. So let me just get the latest on that. It says at 9:03, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 14 miles west of Clintonville, or 18 miles north of Wapaka. That is moving to the east at 50 miles an hour. Again, this is radar indicated rotation. However, a spotter did report a possible tornado 5 miles to the west of Big Falls. The impact would be, again, flying debris for those caught outside or too close to windows if you are in your house. So again, going through some of the precautions, if you are watching us from your home, and you're one of these areas under this tornado warning, we see this red polygon. Let me go back to this warnings graphic here, and this is what we want you to do. If you're in a house and you're under this tornado warning, and even if you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, we want you to do this as well, because we're looking at potential for wind gusts even in these severe thunderstorm warnings, in excess of 90 miles an hour. So this will certainly do damage if you're caught in some of those winds. But you need to get inside, get into a strong interior room, preferably in the center of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside of your house as possible and get away from windows. First of all, we want you to get in a basement if you can. But if you do not have a basement, try to get into the center of a house. Again, put as many walls between you and the outside away from windows. And try to take a blanket, find some sturdy piece of furniture that you could potentially help protect yourself with as these storms move through. If you are in a mobile home and areas around eastern Wapaka, northwestern Outages, and southeastern Shawano County, if you are in a mobile home, you still have a short amount of time to get out of that mobile home. These are the worst, one of the worst places to be during a tornado and with these damaging wind events. If you have a sturdy house nearby, a neighbor that will let you in, they'll certainly do so, or a business nearby. Try to get somewhere other than a mobile home as these storms are moving through. They cannot withstand tornadoes and winds that we are potentially experiencing across the area right now. Hopefully, if you're in a park area, they have a storm shelter for you. If they do, you have a very short amount of time to get there. Otherwise, just like a house, try to get into the middle of your mobile home. And again, put as many walls between you and the outside, away from windows, and try to cover yourself up from the potential for some debris flying around. Also, if you're outside, try to get in. If you're watching us on your phone right now or online and you're not at home, you're in your car, try to get inside and do a sturdy building and protect yourself as these storms very quickly continue to move eastward at around 50 miles an hour here across the western portions of our viewing area. Let me go back to the Doppler portion of the radar here, and what we are looking for is any rotation in the winds that the radar is able to see. So now we're getting a little bit closer to the Green Bay radar here. On the right side of your screen, you can see the beam moving around, sampling the rain and winds. And what we're noticing is that this rotation still is there, but it's not nearly as evident as what it has been within the last half hour or hour or so. Now again, that does not mean there can't be some spin-up tornadoes in this area. There certainly could be, and it's been confirmed that these tornadoes have been on the ground. Let me see if I can sample some of these winds as well. Won't give you an exact wind speed because they might fluctuate every so slightly, but just an idea that we're looking at winds in some areas, just to the north and west of this rotation, upwards of 60 miles an hour. We had winds being sampled over 115 miles an hour about 20 minutes ago, but that is still several thousand feet off the surface. Now, as these storms get a little bit closer to the radar site, that beam is closer to the ground, and we're getting a better idea of how strong those winds are near the ground as this complex of storms moves through. You can hear our weather radio going off. We likely have another warning coming in, and it looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, this is severe thunderstorm warning now until, let's see, you can give me a timer, till 10:15 for Brown, Door, Kewanee, Marinette, Oconto, and Shawano. Again, kind of a broad brush of just about the central and north central portions of the viewing area. That's in effect until 10:15. So now Green Bay is in the warning area, as well as Door, Kewanee, Marinette, Oconto, and Shawano counties.
Yeah, and the Weather Service just going right up to Lake Michigan, because there's no reason to believe that these storms will not hold together. This area across Northwoods, as we take a large view now, the strongest of this complex of storms, and I will zoom in so we can get a better look at these. We will get back to that tornado warning here in just a moment, which is the main concern right now and why we are cutting into programming. But this area across northern Wisconsin, now pushing into eastern Oconto, southern Marinette, and eventually will then cross the bay and now make its way over into Door County. But is this area that I'm highlighting from about just southern Marinette County from 141 down towards Coleman and Lena just to the west of the 41-141 split, and then back into eastern Shawano County. Notice how we have that bowing structure. That is the very strong winds.
Several trees down in Crivets, so that same area.
Okay. Crivets, a lot of us are familiar with that area, have the cottages up that direction, several trees now being reported down in the Crivets area, likely due to these winds that are in excess potentially of 80 to 90 miles an hour. Right along this leading edge of thunderstorms where we have this bowing structure becoming quite evident as it has been for the last several minutes. We have another warning coming in.
Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can get this.
While Dave is looking at that, the northern portion of the Vune area, again, that I just highlighted, moving through, just crossing 141 right now, just about to Abrams in the 41-141 split as we head up towards Lena and Coleman, eventually Peshigo and Ocano. You will see these here fairly shortly. These are moving at 60 miles an hour, so these things are cruising, and we could have a wind gusts in excess of 70 miles an hour. That's why we've been reporting these trees down and damage reports coming in at the moment. Who is that latest warning for, Dave?
Actually, this is a notification from the National Weather Service, the Storm Severe Operations Officer there, who I believe this would be Jeff Last, and he is indicating that basically what we've been talking about, widespread damage is now being reported over much of central and north central and northeast Wisconsin. They're saying that continuing to watch the Boeing line segment moving into central Wapaka County for possible embedded brief tornadic spin-ups.
Yep. And that's what I've been mentioning here the past 20 minutes or so as we've been watching that rotation, which earlier storm spotters did confirm a tornado on the ground just to the, I believe that was just to the west of our viewing area, if I remember correctly, just to the west across over by, southeastern Marathon County.
Yes.
There was a tornado confirmed on the ground by storm spotters. Now, over the last, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes, that signature has not been nearly as evident as what it was, as well as for the potential of a tornado. But just as I say that, once again, we're still looking at a signature now right in central Wapaka County. Let me see if I can zoom in. So Little Wolf, this is just off to your north. Simcoe, this circulation very close to you. It would be right in this area right here. This is right along the leading edge of this line of thunderstorms, and as these continue to move through and bow out ever so slightly, we get these strong winds from the back of the thunderstorms to move out ahead of them, and at times we can get these little spin-up tornadoes, and that's likely what we had off to the west earlier this evening, and this is likely what we are still looking at here as it makes its way through central portions of Wapaka County, hence the reason for the tornado warning and the reason why we are currently breaking into programming, because there's been a confirmed tornado on the ground, and we have to cover this because it's a dangerous situation, and people need to get the information here through TV. Not everybody has cell phones or the ability to get on the internet. Sometimes this is the only way people can get information, and this is our best way to do so. So I know many of you are probably upset we're cutting the programming, but during tornado situations, such as the one we have right now, we had to give everybody the opportunity to get the latest, potentially at times, life-saving information that they need. You can watch your shows online in different medias to get that, but right now we're cutting into the programming due to this tornado warning, and we'll stay on until this tornado warning either expires or is allowed to cancel, which runs right now until 9:30. Latest sweep just coming through here from the radar in Green Bay, still looking at this circulation here, basically between Little Wolf and Simcoe. That is right over Highway 110, moving to the east to southeast at around 50 miles an hour. So areas such as Lebanon, Maple Creek, and areas near Royalton as well, this will probably pass just to your south, just looking at the current motion, but I mean, it'll be awfully close. So areas around Royalton, again, Lebanon, Maple Creek, New London. If you are in New London or close to New London, you need to get in your safe shelter right now because with this current track, this is going to be awfully close to you as well and will likely be here fairly shortly. Let me put a storm track on this and we can time this out moving at 50 miles an hour. We can time out potential for this circulation as it moves to the south and east. So within the next, say 20 minutes, I'm zoomed in here pretty close. So Little Wolf, 916, that's basically on you right now. Lebanon at 920, Mukwa at 925, New London 926, Hortonia 930, Shiocton just after 930, and Hortonville right around 934. So these are the areas that could potentially see this potential tornado and circulation that we are indicating on the radar right now. Dave, anything else coming from the Weather Service?
Coming up here is Appleton, and we're getting some lightning strikes as we look towards the west-northwest.
Okay.
Appleton camera.
Appleton, will you mind throwing, you're working on that.
Yeah.
That's not okay, there we go, perfect. Yeah. Thank you guys. So that's Appleton as we look towards the West College Avenue. This is from downtown Appleton. We will eventually see, as we have just looked at, some lightning strikes, and there has been some incredible amount of lightning with these showers and storms moving through, just absolutely intense storms moving through at the moment, and they have been tornadic. So if we go back, can we go back full to the radar, guys? We're looking at the estimated times of arrival here for the area that I am most concerned for the potential for a tornado. It is, again, areas around Little Wolf. This is, it looks like right now, the main circulation would be just to your north by just a half mile to a mile, if that. Now updating, so let me move this track here, and we'll get you the latest estimated times of arrival. So again, Lebanon, right around 920, New London, near 926, Hortonville, 934, then eventually Ellington, just a few minutes after 930. So let me take this off and show you once again. It's getting a little messy now. It's not nearly as well defined as what the circulation was at the moment, but we're getting continued signatures of winds in the red here away from the radar and winds towards the radar here in the blue and green. It's in this very small little area, which we call a couplet, right in this area where we could potentially have this now spin up a tornado moving through here at the moment. I'm just going to check the chat service here from the National Weather Service. No updates as of just a few moments ago. Yep.
County.
Okay, so that at just a few minutes ago, areas around Mountain, trees down in that area across the northern portions of our viewing area in Oconto County. So again, we're watching this tornado signature here. Let me zoom out and just reset for people potentially just tuning in right now, wondering why we're on. There is a tornado warning in effect until 9:30, so we got about 10 minutes left on this. No indication right now from the Weather Service if they're going to expand this or extend this tornado warning, but right now it is for northern Wapaka County and the northwestern portions of Outages County. That runs until 9:30. These other areas in orange, these are severe thunderstorm warnings. The main concern right now that we continue to watch is areas just right along Highway 41 now, near Pensauke, Oconto, Little River. This went through right now. Oconto, you're likely getting the strongest of the winds. And if we look on the radar, we're not getting the best sampling because these winds are not going right at the radar. They're moving at a different direction, so we're not getting the best pure sample of what these winds are doing. But what I want to point out, notice these brighter shades of green and blue here across eastern portions of Oconto County. This is where our cottage is, right up in this direction. But the radar, a few thousand feet up, above the ground, sampling winds that could be near 74 miles an hour. And at times, we can get those winds several thousand feet above the ground to then be pushed down to the surface, and then they have to expand outward. And that's where we get that straight line damaging wind. That's what happens. And so those could be in excess of 74 miles an hour. That is likely what we could be experiencing right along Highway 41, basically from the Abrams split all the way up Highway 41 through eastern Oconto County and into the far eastern portions of Marinette County, just about to push into the western bay of Green Bay. We could see some damaging winds right along that line as well, and it's really evident moving through basically Oconto right now. Oconto Falls, you're just looking at some heavy rain. So the worst of that thunderstorm complex is just about to push into the western bay. I just want to get a quick update here on that warning, which does include Door County, because you guys will be up next. That is continuing to move at 60 miles an hour. So I want to do a quick storm track, and we'll get back to the tornado warning here in just a moment. But this area right here, I'm highlighting, that's the main concern for these damaging straight line winds moving east at around 60 miles an hour. So over the next half hour, as it makes its way then over Lake Michigan, Oak Orchard, you're probably experiencing those damaging winds right now. And then we get into areas such as Sevastopol, Coden around 9:32, and then Sturgeon Bay around 9:43. The estimated times of arrival for that area of severe thunderstorms, potentially producing winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. We have had numerous reports of trees down and power lines down across our northern portion of the viewing area, as well as northern portions of the state of Wisconsin as well. Once again, just looking at the Weather Service chat here, no new updates. The latest one was trees down in Mountain in Oconto County as of 9/14. Okay, thank you for that, Tim. This is the current outage map from Wisconsin Public Service. So for those of you with WPS service, this is the current outage map. And we are looking at over 33,000 customers currently without power. So as we scroll down here, Anago, that's in our viewing area, just shy of 6,000 people without power. We're looking at that middle column of numbers. Burnhamwood, that's near Rhinelander, Boulder Junction, that's across northwestern Oneida County and Vilas County. Eagle River, not as many, but you go south, Elko, that's just north of Anago, up Highway 45 in northern Lane Lake County, about 1,800 people without power. We're looking at a lot of areas across far northern Wisconsin without power. Mountain, 558 customers without power. Pelican Lake, again, that's near Anago, just to the north of Anago. And as we continue to move through, nearly 1,300 in Wausau, and a few more as you make your way, again, mainly across the northern portions of the viewing area and the state. But again, you add those all together, and over 33,000 people without power, and those numbers will likely continue to increase as these storms continue to move eastward through now northeastern Wisconsin. So guys, you can keep us updated on that as it continues to refresh. Back to the reason why we are cutting in. Tornado warning continues now for northwestern Outagamie County and the western portions, we'll call it the northeastern portions of Wapaka County. This runs until 9:30 for these areas near Clintonville and Bear Creek. Just to the west of Black Creek, you are currently not under that tornado warning, but is awfully close to your area. And we look at the radar, and you know, I'll be honest, it's not looking nearly as impressive as what it once was. Since we first started covering this, we'll back this up, and at times we got these little appendages, if you will, along the leading edge of this thunderstorm complex that was concerning in the fact that we had these little spin-up tornadoes forming and actually were on the ground, reported by storm spotters on the ground. So there was likely some tornadic damage done because of that. Now it looks like this could potentially be turning now more into a straight line damaging wind event. And I'm looking at the velocity here. And again, that couplet, which we are watching, it looks like if there is any rotation, it would be right in this area right here. It is awfully weak, not nearly as substantial as what it once was. Let me center this up on the screen for you here. So just to the west of Highway 45, this is north and east of Wapaka by about 13 miles or so. That's where, if we have any circulation continuing, that's where it would be. But again, it is not looking nearly as impressive. But near the New London area, that's where we could potentially have some of that rotation. Now, I'm just looking here from the National Weather Service. They are expiring this tornado warning for Outages and Wapaka County. So that is some fantastic news. However, that does not mean this threat is over. So they still have this tornado warning on the maps right now. This will likely expire at 9:30, so just about 3 minutes from now. We're going to keep it here until this completely is expired by the National Weather Service in just a few minutes. But I want to recap that we still have some awfully dangerous storms moving through the area right now. Damaging winds will be the main threat. Green Bay, this is knocking on your door here fairly shortly. The lightning and heavy rain is not too far away. We will likely have some very gusty winds move through. But at the moment, the main concern, at least for damaging winds, is now over the central bay of Green Bay. But Door County and northern Kewaunee County, this is very quickly knocking on your door. You will likely experience some very strong winds and some frequent lightning as well. I mean, looking at all these lightning strikes, and these are just within the last 15 minutes, just on the back side of this leading edge of thunderstorms. But areas across Door County, especially from about, let's say Egg Harbor, I'd say, and areas to the south. If you are south of Egg Harbor, you'll likely experience the strongest winds, but really the whole county will experience some very strong winds, some of which could produce some damaging winds. And it looks like we were under that severe thunderstorm warning for Brown County already, correct? Or did they just re-outline this? Okay, so we...
Oh, it continues. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Brown County, we're under that severe thunderstorm warning. That runs until, let me get the latest expiration time here on this. That runs until 10 o'clock this evening. We could have winds in excess of 60 miles an hour as they continue to move off to the east and southeast very quickly at around 45 to at times 50 miles an hour. So again, we have about a minute and a half left of this tornado warning. At 9:30, this will expire, and then we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. We appreciate you being patient with us. But again, when we get these tornado warnings, not everybody has a cell phone, not everybody has the internet, not everybody, unfortunately, has a weather radio to give them the warnings. Some people just have a TV, and so that's the best way we can pass along this information. I know it can be frustrating that we've been on for probably the last hour or so, cutting into some of the shows that normally would be running. But we need to pass along this information to people, and this could potentially be life-saving to some, especially with some of the reports we're getting just off to the west of that confirmed tornado on the ground and these damaging winds that have produced widespread tree and power line damage as well. That's why we had to break into this programming. We don't like doing it. Be thankful we don't have to do it more often, that's for sure. But we had to do this every now and then. And again, appreciate your understanding, trying to pass along this information to people that need it when they need it the most. And I know most of you would want us to be doing the same if you were under the threat for a tornado or these very damaging severe thunderstorms as well. So again, we have just a few seconds left. We're going to wait for that red box to expire officially from the National Weather Service, and then we'll get you back to our normal programming. And there it goes. We will still continue to run updates here on our website, wearegreenbay.com, and on our mobile apps, the Storm Team 5 weather app, and on the WFRV news app. So if you want to continue to get severe weather updates through this video here, you can do so, because it's about to move through Green Bay, Appleton, eventually Oshkosh. People at Rock USA, you gotta either get inside or tell people that you know at the concert here to seek shelter as these storms continue to move through, and the lakeshore areas will soon start to experience these as well. So that is the latest here from Storm Team 5. We will now return you back to our normal programming. Good evening, everyone. I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Chad Rathlisberger. We appreciate you watching us here online, wearegreenbay.com, and on our mobile apps. Time right now, 9:31 on this Friday evening. It has been a awfully, at times challenging, but very busy evening here across northeast Wisconsin as this complex of showers and storms continues to move through. Good news, the tornadic portion of this severe thunderstorm complex has weakened, and so that is why we no longer are on the TV side and no longer have a tornado warning in effect, but we still have several severe thunderstorm warnings across the area, and we can hear the heavy rain now just starting to push into the Green Bay area, or that actually might be the winds out ahead of this rain. We can hear it at times moving through right now, just starting to push into the eastern portions of Green Bay. So I want to update everybody right now. Again, no more tornado warnings for Shawano, Wapaka, or northwestern Outages County, but all these areas shaded in orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. And listen to these winds. I mean, this isn't something to take lightly. These are probably at least, I would assume, at least 50 miles an hour moving through, shaking things a little bit here on the east side of Green Bay as this complex moves through. And that will be the main concern the rest of the evening as these move through, will be the potential for these damaging straight line winds right ahead of the rain. So we will get over, and now we just had a power flash, still good here, but power might be going out somewhere around Green Bay as things just flicked very close quickly here. Not sure if we're on generator power right now or if it was just a little flicker in the flash there, but that is currently what we're experiencing here on the east side of Green Bay. Okay, this has been the main concern outside of that tornado portion of the tornadic portion of these storms across northwestern Outagamie, Shawano, and Wapaka County earlier. That is no longer the threat. This has been my other main concern, and it has been through much of the evening. This bowing structure of thunderstorms now just starting to push into western Door County. It has made its way very quickly over the Bay of Green Bay, but these areas now across western, we'll call it southwestern Door County, and eventually the fairly northwestern portions of Kewaunee County, where we're experiencing these damaging straight line winds that could be in excess of around 60 or 70 miles an hour. Again, with the radar, what we're looking at here are the winds being sampled by the radar. This is the Doppler portion of the radar, and it tells us just how strong and in what direction the winds are moving. Unfortunately, these winds across western Door County, they're not moving in a perpendicular motion towards the radar beam. So we're not getting a true sample of just how strong those winds could be. However, we can still use this information, and it can give us an idea of just how strong those winds potentially are. And again, 36 miles an hour is what's sampling, but that's not a real good sample of those winds since they're not moving directly at the radar. So those could easily be much higher. Now, areas that do have winds in a better direction moving towards the radar here across northwestern Brown County and eastern Shawano and southern Oconto counties, these areas moving more in a direction towards the radar. So if I sample some of those, some of these brighter shades of green, upwards of 50 miles an hour. Again, this is probably 1, maybe 2,000 feet off the ground that the radar beam is sampling this. So this could be a little bit different right at the ground, sometimes a little bit lower. But that's certainly good news. These winds, we don't want 50-mile-an-hour winds, that's certainly for sure, for certain, but they're not nearly as strong as what they potentially could have been and they actually were earlier this evening. So we're still looking at some very strong winds as well across Outages and Wapaka County. I'll go back now to the more traditional radar, or the precipitation reflectivity view here of the radar. Green Bay, I just mentioned the winds really picking up. The heaviest of the rain just starting to push into the western portions of the city, areas around Howard, Swamico, back towards Little Swamico, and near the 141 and 41 split. We're looking at some very heavy rain. Pulaski, very heavy rain back towards Navarino as well. Black Creek, you're on the leading edge of this very heavy rain. New London, you're looking at these very strong winds as well. And Wapaka, you are in this very heavy rain moving through at the moment. Frequent lightning being sampled as well. We'll loop this. We can kind of show you how this whole complex has been moving over the last 3 hours here. And within 3 hours, this complex has moved almost across the 3/4 of the state. And so these have been just trucking their way very quickly across northern and central Wisconsin, now impacting much of our viewing area. Eventually, this will impact the Fox Valley and areas along the Lake Michigan shoreline as well. So we'll bring it back to the current radar. We will take off the lightning here. Guys, if in the back, if you need us to take some time off to get ready for the 10 p.m. update, let me know. We can stop at 9:50. Okay. So we will stay with you here for another 13 minutes or so, and then we will eventually get ready for the 10 p.m. And then Dave Miller will be back in to have the latest updates, and I'm sure Tom and Aaron have some of the latest damage reports coming in as well. Okay, I'm on Facebook Live here. I've been streaming for the last, what seems like quite a while, probably close to an hour and a half or so. And I'm looking at some of the comments coming in. If you're watching us on Facebook, let us know what is happening in your area. I'm looking at the comments coming in right now. Let's see, West Appleton is starting to get a bit of wind. Okay, thank you for that. Let's see, Beth is saying Lehman area. Just about everybody in the viewing area will experience these storms. Good news is that they are weakening ever so slightly, but we still have warnings up for the area. And so that this is not something that we want to take lightly. We're still looking at potential for some damaging wind and some frequent lightning as well. Ripon, near Fond du Lac, you still have a little while to go. But you will likely have some gusty winds and some frequent lightning as well. Looking through some of these other reports here, we appreciate your efforts. You're certainly welcome there, Joanne. That's why we're here, to keep everybody ahead of the storms and informed, especially as we get some of these more severe events to move through. The heavy rain really now starting to pound us here at the station on the east side of Green Bay. And at times some very gusty winds. We noticed the winds probably 5 minutes before the rain arrived, and so you will likely experience these strong winds out ahead of the storm first before you get into some of that heavy rain. Wind in Howard is bad. Thank you for that update, Betsy. You still have a little ways to go. Mainly heavy rain now, but if you notice any trees down or anything like that, we would be very thankful for that report. O'Connell from Michelle is getting very windy as well. Tons of lightning in O'Connell Falls. Thank you for that update there, Heller.
Yeah, report around Beaver of down
Okay.
and one landing on a shed.
Okay, so the areas around Beaver, trees down, that is north of Green Bay, and one landing on a shed. So we're still looking at potential for some damage, as now this has, for the most part, transitioned over to a damaging wind event. A lot of lightning in Manawa. Thank you for that update there, Isabel. And let's see, tornado sirens just went off in Marion, pouring rain and lots of lightning. There are currently no tornado warnings in effect across the WFRV viewing area. We did have some across Shawano, northern Wapaka, and northwestern Outagamie earlier this evening. That expired about 10 minutes ago. Right now, we still have several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. And let me get you some of the latest updates here with regards to the timing of those. Let me take off the lightning because there is certainly quite a bit of it. So we have this severe thunderstorm warning, which includes Outages, Wapaka, Winnebago, as well as Brown and Kewaunee County. That runs until 10 o'clock this evening. And also the severe thunderstorm warning for Door County, Marinette, mainly the eastern portions of Marinette and far eastern Oconto County. That runs until 10:15. But if you are in Marinette or Oconto County, the worst of the wind is now well off to your east. It's now pushing through areas such as Sturgeon Bay, southern Door County, and just we'll call it the northwestern tip of Kewaunee County right now. Oh, okay. So the Weather Service here in Green Bay now adding the rest of their coverage area, which stops at Manitowoc, Calumet, and Winnebago and Waushara counties. From those counties and to the north, that's the NWS Green Bay coverage forecast area. Marquette, Green Lake, Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, that is technically in the Milwaukee coverage area. So Green Bay just decided to add the rest of their coverage area, which does include now Winnebago, Calumet, and Manitowoc counties for the severe thunderstorm warning. And if I go back to our radar here, we'll get the expiration time on that. We'll pack, okay. Yeah.
About an inch has fallen and 1 to 3 possible on the
Okay.
backside.
Okay. So a flood advisory now for it looks like northwestern, if not all of Wapaka County, until 12:30. Some extremely heavy rain falling with this as well. And let me zoom out, get to a different radar view here, and we can see the current motion of this, mainly to the south and east, and they've been moving awfully quickly. But these storms, you notice the humidity in the air earlier today. There's a lot of moisture in the air, and these storms are just wringing out all that moisture right now. And so we've had upwards of 1 to 3 inches of rain near Wapaka County. I'm just going to look at the that advisory for Wapaka County here. Okay, yeah, that runs again until 12:30, this flood advisory. It also includes Portage and Wood County, which is technically outside the WFRV viewing area, but an additional 1 to 3 inches are possible as we have some training storms in that area. Good news, for the most part, the motion is off to the south and east, so once you get through the heavy rain, it's pretty much done. But some areas now, just on the western edge of this complex, looking at potential for some back building of these storms and eventually more rain as well. That's what we're seeing kind of out here across western Wisconsin. Notice how we're looking at more development out this way near I-94, between I-39 here across the central portions of the state. We're looking at some storms starting to back build here. So while we're dealing with the damaging wind threat and gusty winds for Green Bay, Door County, much of Outages County right now, we will have to watch to see how these continue to develop and if there's any back building and if we could get more rounds of very heavy rain to be moving through here throughout the rest of the evening. But right now, the current warnings here, basically everybody from Green Bay into the south under a severe thunderstorm warning. The latest these run for our southern counties, Manitowoc, Calumet, and Winnebago. That runs until 9:30. And let's see if we can't time these out here for some of our other areas. We'll stay with you here for about another 5 minutes. We'll take a little break, and then Dave Miller will be back in for our 10 p.m. newscast and have the latest live radar information. But while we are here, okay, let's do that. Let's go to online. Okay, if you are watching us online, we are greenbay.com. You can find our Skyview cameras, and here is Green Bay, downtown Green Bay, from the top of the Neville Public Museum, looking towards the north and west, and the rain is just coming down in sheets right now. We can hear it here at the studio on our roof, and it at times gets awfully loud in here, but you can see the frequent lightning as well with these showers and storms. The bulk of the wind is now off to our east, but you can find these sky cams. wearegreenbay.com, find the weather tab on the top, and then all you have to do is just scroll down and you'll see the Skyview network, and we have all 5 cameras across northeastern Wisconsin. These are live streaming, so you can see the latest conditions. Guys, want to check out Sturgeon Bay while we can? Just see what that looks like here. While we just have a few more minutes, and looks like, well, the rain is just about to push into Sturgeon Bay. You can see the lightning strikes there across the bay as it starts to move in. As I look at the radar, the rain, you're probably getting the wind right now in Sturgeon Bay, but the rain, it's got to be starting just about now. Manitowoc, you're still dry, but these storms will be in your area, I'd say within the next 20 to 30 minutes or so, as they continue to move off to the south and east, averaging at times around, well, they're currently moving at 70 miles an hour is what the Weather Service is saying right now. Let me see if that's correct. Yeah, moving to the southeast. I mean, these things are just cruising right now. So with that, I will update this 70 miles an hour and give you a estimated time of arrival for at least the eastern half of these storms. We'll go to about southwestern Outagamie County here. So they're moving in a direction just like that. We'll stop this about 45 minutes out. And here are some of the estimated times of arrival. So Kewaunee, 9:51, Appleton, 9:52, Brillion, just before 10 o'clock, Manitowoc, just a few minutes after 10 o'clock, New Holstein, 10:15, Kiel, 10:17, Howards Grove, about 10:23, and Sheboygan around 10:30. Areas further to the west, these storms have been moving just as quickly as well, but they might be moving just a touch slower here, and I'm looking here, 45 miles an hour is their current movement. So let me zoom in here for areas across the western portions of this line. Okay, We Energies are just reporting power outages in the Fox Valley. So anyone with We Energy service, they're reporting some power outages. We'll stop this to about Fond du Lac, and here are the current times of arrival. So again, if you know anybody at Rock USA, 10:03, they have just a few short minutes. Hopefully they are evacuating the grounds. I don't know what their protocol is for Rock USA. Hopefully they're on their game right now and getting people out of the grounds and stopping these concerts, because very strong winds will be the main concern, and with the large stages that they have, that could certainly be a concern and will be a concern, as well as the extremely heavy rain and the frequent lightning. I mean, look at all these lightning strikes. This is just within 15 minutes. The lightning can be deadly. We can't have people out in thunderstorms, out in open areas. They're at risk for potentially getting hit by some of this, and especially with the tall structures in that open area. That's a prime condition for these lightning strikes. So again, other areas, Oshkosh 10:03, Chilton 10:09, Montello 10:12, and Fond du Lac right around 10:19. Grand Chute, this is pretty much knocking on your door right now. Appleton, this will be in your area here in just a few short minutes. So that is the latest update here. We are going to give our backstage crew here a chance to get ready for the 10 o'clock newscast coming up in about 10 minutes. Dave Miller will have the latest information here, as well as Tom and Aaron with the latest power outage and damage reports across much of northeastern Wisconsin as well. We have several reporters going out to and check out some of the damage and power outages, so we will make sure to pass on that information. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings for areas from Door County down the Lake Michigan shoreline, and areas including Oshkosh and Appleton and Wautoma. Those all run until 10:30 this evening. Again, we thank you for tuning in. Make sure to stay safe and get through these storms here the rest of the evening, and make sure to tune in on the TV side to our newscast, Local 5 News at 10, coming up in about 10 minutes.